My brother demanded that I give him my house because he had a baby. Now he's calling me a traitor. So last week, my brother Mark showed up at my house out of the blue, holding his newborn in one arm and a folder of papers in the other. He said he had something important to discuss. I assumed he needed advice about the baby or maybe just a break from being a new dad. I couldn't have been more wrong. Right as I offered him coffee, he cut me off mid-sentence and said, "You don't need this house anymore. You should give it to us. We've got a baby now." At first, I actually laughed. I thought it was one of his weird jokes, but then I realized he wasn't joking. His face was dead serious. I just stared at him, waiting for a punchline that never came. When I asked him what he was talking about, he launched into this long-winded explanation about how he and his wife, Jessica, are barely making ends meet with their tiny apartment. Apparently, their landlord raised the rent, and they were struggling to cover expenses with the new baby. And because I'm single and financially stable, he decided I should give him my house. Let me explain. This house was left to me by my grandparents when they passed a couple of years ago. It's not a mansion or anything, but it's my dream home. I grew up visiting it every summer and had a lot of memories tied to it. When it became mine, I poured almost all my savings into renovations. New kitchen, new floors, even updated the plumbing. It's not just a house to me. It's my safe space. I tried to be calm and rational. I told Mark, "I'm really sorry you're struggling, but this house was left to me for a reason. I've worked hard to make it my own." But he wouldn't drop it. He said, "You don't have a family. It's selfish to keep this all to yourself when we have a child to think about." Jessica, who apparently had been sitting in the car outside, came in at that point. She started chiming in about how families should help each other, and how they had already planned out how to make this space work for their growing family. Planned out? She even had the audacity to suggest I could rent a nice apartment somewhere since I'm just one person. I was dumbfounded. I told them flat out, "This is my home. I'm not giving it up." That's when things got nasty. Jessica started crying. I swear it felt fake, and said something like, "I knew she wouldn't understand. She's always been selfish." Mark got more aggressive and accused me of hoarding resources. He actually said, "It's not fair that you have all this while we're struggling to get by." At this point, I was so angry I could barely keep my voice steady. I asked them to leave, but Mark dropped his folder of papers on my coffee table and said, "Think about it. It's what's best for the family." When they finally left, I sat there staring at the folder. It was filled with documents, suggested timelines for moving out, a budget for how they'd maintain the house, and even a drafted letter to my HOA informing them of the change in ownership. I couldn't believe the level of entitlement. They had planned this like it was a done deal. The next day, it got worse. My parents called me, and guess what? They're on Mark's side. My mom said, "You don't need such a big place, sweetheart. Mark has a baby now,